what was your first experience or memory of the ocean that would lead you to having the relationship you have with the ocean today?
So that's a very abstract question because I have a lot of memories with the ocean. Some of those memories are more things that I imagined about it before I even got in the water. I always had this fantasy thing about the water and just the depth of the ocean and it being such an unknown field. So that's kind of somewhere I would always dream of going. I grew up in Cordoba in Argentina where there isn't sea around it. You have to travel a really long way to get to the ocean. So the first time I went to the ocean in Argentina, it's like murky water, there's a lot of waves, there's not much to see really. But just the feeling of being in the water and knowing that there is other places and that some other place the ocean is blue and there's a lot of sea creatures really inspired me to want to continue that pursuit. So there's been many times. Then the first time I did see creatures like sea life and I discovered about what the corals were because I didn't know what corals were until I started scuba diving in 2018. And they told me like how they eat and that they're part plant, they're part an animal. They have these little tentacles where they can eat as animals and then they do photosynthesis like plants and I'm like, what? And then they just do all of these amazing things and that's another thing that inspired me to just learn more about the ocean and want to connect with all of these very magical beings because I think they're like super magical by doing that. They're very special.
Can you talk a little bit more about your scuba diving certification and your qualifications?
Sure. So the first time I ever did scuba diving, I was in the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. That was maybe 2018 and I did it's called like a DSD or a baptism. So I went in the water. It was a very short experience. There was a lot of people around. But I remember getting down there and I saw a little shark. And I wasn't scared at all. Like you would say, oh, you saw a shark the first time you dive and weren't you scared? But I was actually amazed. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I have this beautiful creature right next to me. It wasn't an intimidating shark. It wasn't like a great white or a bull shark or anything. It was just like a little reef shark. But it just sparked this like emotion in me. I didn't even know I had it in me. And it was like this whole thing. And I was like, this is what I want to do for a living because these people get to come in the water every day and see these amazing, have these amazing interactions with these creatures and take people out diving, create this experience for other people, create this wonderful environment and be a part of their job that they get paid to do this. This is what I want to do. So that's the moment where I decided I want to become a dive master or a scuba diving instructor and start having that as a job, as a career. So that's when I went to Thailand. I did all my certifications up until Dive Master. I did that in 2 to 3 months. I did some internships, volunteering. Then after that, I had some experiences. So a very cool one was when I hitchhiked a ride on a sailboat for 2 months. And the people on board weren't certified, but I took them diving anyways. And then eventually I got them, I told them, okay, get your certification because I wasn't an instructor yet. I was just a dive master. But after they got their certification, I would take them out diving to these reefs that there's no other boats around. There's no other people around. And we're just pioneering, exploring these areas that nobody had been there before. Well, at least there was no other people there at the moment. And just figuring out all of these ways to do that, logistics and just sharing that experience. So it was kind of an exchange of learning how to sail, and then I'm teaching them how to dive. So it's this form of exchange, no money involved, just exchange of passions and passions about the water because they're two water activities, and you're just meeting water people and teaching each other this thing is really, really beautiful. And then after that, I started doing research assistant, volunteering with the coral restoration, Mexico, Costa Rica. Then I decided to get my instructor license, and then I've just been teaching for about a little bit longer than 2 years now.
Who is someone that had a major impact on your relationship with the ocean?
My dad. My dad was the first person that inspired me about the ocean. So he's also a water person, like a lot. And he told me this story when he separated from my mom and I was 6 years old, and he was having this major, you know, this is breaking down of a relationship with kids, and you know how hard that is on some people. I wouldn't know, but we know it is. So what he did, he took like this year, and he went to the Caribbean, and he got on this sailboat. It was a really small sailboat. It was like 25 feet, 30 feet sailboat, just with the captain. So it was just him and the captain, and they sailed across the Atlantic Sea in 30 days. They did this like really dangerous crossing, which not a lot of people do. So 30 days at sea, which sounds like not a lot, but it's actually very impressive. And he told me all of these experiences and stories of this huge whale coming under the boat and swimming under the boat, and you're like, the whale is bigger than the boat. And then all of this plankton lights start like turning the blue color, and there's a full moon and the stars are out, and it's like this magical experience. And the way that he told me about it and the way that he came back changed for the better from that experience, because I remember him being very depressed, and after that experience of finding himself in the ocean and having all of these stories to tell, and he would send me photos like every week, and I just look at the photos and be like, wow, I want to do this too. So I would say my dad is my main source of inspiration for giving it a big try and like sparking that passion within me, for sure.
So good. That was a great answer. I have more questions. I just want to get this mic fixed, or get this little fuzzy thing on my mic. What was one of your most memorable experiences that you had while diving?
I got so many. But one that I always like to tell because it freaks people out and I like those stories is this time we were in Costa Rica, and I was doing an internship. I was a dive master doing an internship for the instructor. So we go on this boat towards Bad Island, which is an island that's full of bull sharks. It's known for the bull sharks, and they're like big ones. They're 3 to 4 meter bull sharks. Some of them are pregnant, and they're swimming around this pinnacle and this island that's far away. So you got to go at a certain time of the year, because otherwise it gets really windy, the waves are too big, the currents start coming through, and it has to be a specific point. So anyways, the conditions were like all right, but they weren't the best. We get there, and you have to get down at a specific point, because if you come down, like you do an entry into the water right above the sharks, it's dangerous, because they'll take it as a power move, or like maybe they'll confuse you with a seal. I don't know, like they can attack you if that happens. It's a thing. Like you have to like drop down further away from them and then swim through at their distance to get to the point. So we have to do this like sort of negative entry, or like just go down really quickly because of the current is pushing us towards the rock. And I'm there helping everyone out with their gear. So I'm opening everyone's tanks, like the air tanks that they have attached to their back. And of course I forget to open mine. So we jump in the water and we're going down, and I have a little of air in my hoses. So I'm sipping the air, and then I'm like, oh, my tank is closed because I can't like breathe any more air. So I can't reach it because it's in my back. So I gotta swim to the surface to open my tank. So by the time I get at the surface and I'm there like struggling to open my tank, I'm like, fuck, I'm drifting. The people are down there, they don't know. It's very murky at this point. It's like you can only see up to there. So it's like 1 meter visibility or 2 meter visibility tops. So I'm there like, fuck, I really want to do this dive. And the captain's on the boat like, you're gonna have to get back on the boat. And I'm like, no, I'm not missing this dive, because it was like the last time we could go to Bad Island. So I had to do the dive for the bull sharks. So I go down, I see the bubbles in the surface. I start swimming like under I turn my tank on. And I'm like, oh, I can't see anyone, and nobody's coming back for me. And there's like sharks in this area, and I'm by myself, and this and that. Like all of these things are going through my head. And all of a sudden, from the corner of my eye, I see this bull shark that comes towards me and like just stops. And it comes out of nowhere. It's like this like foggy thing in the water. I'm at like maybe 18 meters or something, and it just comes out of my corner and stops. It's massive, it's like bigger than me. And I'm like, almost peed myself or shut myself, I don't know what. It was like, it just froze. And it just like kind of like smelled and left. And after he did that, then one of the instructors that realized I wasn't on the group was coming swimming towards me. So I was like, nobody saw that, but I will remember that for the rest of my life, like how just impressed I was. It was this presence that the shark had of like, if he wanted, he could just eat me alive, but he didn't. But for me, that was, it was a great experience actually. It sounds like scary, but it was such a great experience because you get to feel small for once. There's not a lot of creatures out there that make us feel small. Like usually you can, you know, it's just spiders, snakes, it's not that big of a deal. But you know, there's some creatures out there like big bears, big sharks, even whales that you're like, wow, I'm such an insignificant little human. And that's great. I like that feeling.
What's a lesson the ocean has taught you that has been crucial to your own mental health?
Wow, it's a lot. The importance of stillness and presence to like quiet the mind, because once you're down there, especially when you're free diving without a scuba tank, it's all silence and there's no thoughts, and you realize how present you can be in that moment with all the noise that's going around in the surface, with all the thoughts, with all the things. It's just like getting down there and everything just shuts off and you're just there in the ocean, and it's the best feeling ever. But also like humbleness of noticing how powerful the force of the ocean is and how little control you have over it. And no matter what you do, you will never even become close to controlling the ocean. So it's a surrender experiment every time you go in the water, no matter what you do. If you're surfing, you're sailing, you're scuba diving, free diving, whatever you're doing, it's a surrender experiment all the way, and that brings so much to the soul, to the human, yeah.
What's something that you like to do to play your part in trying to keep the ocean healthy and a safe place for the future?
Well, there's obviously the small things that we can all do, like wearing reef-safe sunscreen, or you know, not using plastic as much, or just being very, you know, not leaving your garbage around, just regular stuff like that that seems like it's obvious for a lot of people, but then for other people, they just don't know how important that is. But then, like, particularly for me, I have a great passion for coral. So, like I mentioned before, whenever I have the opportunity and I'm around some type of organization that's taking care of coral restoration, whatever form of that it is. So it could be, there's many types. There's asexual propagation, sexual propagation, which is my favorite, when you collect the gametes and you go in a little bit sciencey and, you know, just, you can always do your part, but that's something that I love to do personally. That's something that I feel like when I'm doing that, I'm connecting to the coral reefs, which is such a huge organism and so important for everything. Like, we have no idea actually the importance of the coral reefs. It could be the most important thing out there for the world that we live in. So that's my favorite thing to do, is coral restoration and whatever type of research, and getting involved with these people that will always be teaching you things, like marine biologists and people that know a lot about the ocean, and you can just see it in the spark that they have in their eyes, that that's something that they love doing, and every day they wake up and they love to go to work, and they're doing something, they feel good about themselves because they're doing something for the planet and they're getting in the water. It's wonderful to be able to get involved with those things. So I really recommend it. If people out there like want to even do, I don't know, 1 month, 2 months of volunteering of whatever type of marine conservation activities you can do, even if that's like doing a beach cleanup or, you know, whatever that is, it's a great experience because you can also meet people that share that passion and learn a lot from them. So it's not just about what you're doing, you're also receiving back that information and sharing. So yeah, it's really, really good.
If somebody was maybe afraid of getting in the ocean, they didn't know where to start, what advice would you give them?
Well, it's interesting because there's a lot of people that I come across teaching scuba diving that are very afraid of the ocean, sometimes more than they know that they are. They get in the water and they panic and they freak out. And I always tell them that it's mind control. It's mind control practice. It's getting in there and noticing that all the things, all the trigger alerts that going off are not real. They're just in your mind. And when you're able to get through that barrier, and obviously it does help if you're someone that is comfortable in the water and you go with that person. So I do advise that instead of going by yourself out there, you just go with someone that's very comfortable in the water that can walk you through. One step at a time. Maybe it's just like snorkeling in the surface, or you don't have to go like all in scuba diving. But just little steps like that, and noticing, being very present with yourself and noticing like all the little feelings that you have in your body and the fears and how they dissolve and how they like trigger different alerts. And then once you've gone through that process, you'll realize that it's so rewarding to have you beat that thing in you that was stopping you, that was freezing you, and there was like this fear, and you're able to accomplish that, and then that brings you strength, that strengthens you, that gives you so much. It's empowering, and that's one of the most empowering things that you can do, is to get over a fear and do it anyways, and it's always a great outcome.
Can you remember like a goal, like a thing that you wanted to do early on that now is something you've done maybe many times, and it's like feels like it's just kind of, you don't take it for granted, but it feels like commonplace? And then do you have any goals, like what's next on your list of things that you want to do when it comes to getting in the ocean, whether that's like diving with whale sharks, you know, sailing around the world, like where was the goal back then, and like how far you've come, like what's it now?
Well, I'm a very big dreamer, and I have really huge goals in, like, as I would say. So it has changed a lot. Like my first goal, as I said, when I first discovered getting in the water, was to become a dive master. And I thought that was like really badass, which it is, and like takes a lot, and I had no idea how it would be, but then I accomplished that, and then it's like, okay, next thing, become an instructor. Okay, next thing, start like doing some free diving and seeing how that's like, and you know, all these little things that, like you said, you just sometimes you don't realize that you've got to that stage which you saw yourself before, and you wish that you were like you accomplished it, and that just happens. I'd say right now, what I want to continue doing with the ocean is I'm actually writing some courses right now for what we were talking about before, people that are very afraid of the water, and just getting in the water and overcoming that fear. And I have a lot of ideas of that, how that is, but I can't really go into detail too much because I haven't, you know, finished them or anything. But the idea is working through whatever blocks people have to get in the water. Maybe there's some, you know, traumatic experience there that they didn't know existed, and uncovering that and working through it, and having all of these different tools that are not just in the water but also outside the water, like breath work, like meditation, like talking about these things. There's so many tools out there, and there's no reason why we should use one or the other. Like the combination of therapeutic modalities, different tools, is what truly makes it a powerful experience, and also being able to personalize that to the person that's doing the thing. So that's something that I'm working towards right now. also coral restoration is something that I want to do, that I want to be able to facilitate myself. So maybe having like an underwater coral garden and having some marine biologists that work and research and help me out with that, and having a team, that would be amazing. Now I'm heading to live on a sailboat, so yeah, it's something's in progress. But those are little like kind of direction pointers of where I'm heading.
Amazing. Thanks for sitting down and talking to me in the camera, and thanks for being the first person I interviewed for this.
Yes.
And also the synchronicity of you being the first person I took a photo of underwater. So
There
it's
you
kind
go.
of wild that it all came back together like this.
Yeah.
All right, Irena, thank you so much.
Thank you.